This just makes it easier for me for birthdays. I don't forget. It's like, it's mine. Hers is tomorrow. Okay.
If you forget your wife's birthday, you are in big trouble.
It's I'll claim Alzheimer's.
Well, and the good news is, it'll be a believable claim.
Yeah.
Hey, you know
Thanks.
what? When you pitch them underhand to me like that right over the plate, I'm going to take a swing. It's just...
Yeah, soft pitch. I understand. All right.
You're listening to the Goblin Goldcast with Dex and Mac. I got mouths to feed, so let's get this thing started. Time is money, friend.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, Azeroth. You're listening to the Goblin Goldcast, your guide to making gold in World of Warcraft. This is episode 15. I'm your host, Dex, coming to you from Napa, California. With me on Skype is the man with way more candles than cake, the birthday boy himself, my co-host Mac from Anchorage, Alaska. Happy birthday, Mac.
Hey, thanks. I'm not feeling any older.
Well, you definitely look older, so there's that.
Well, that's all the grandkids.
So, did you get a chance to file for your Social Security today, or you just gonna do that tomorrow?
I'll wait a little bit before I start worrying about getting a senior discount and such.
I'm so jealous. You're actually going to get to see Social Security. By the time I get to that age, it's not even going to be available anymore. Oh, sorry, man. This week's show is titled 5150, and it's not just to address our sanity issues, but it's also our ages. Guess who's 51? But
yes, this is a running joke from many years ago, about the time I was 30.
Yeah. We've been friends since we were 15 years old, and I remember when you turned 30, I really relished the idea of calling you up and announcing that you're 30 and I'm not. And much more fun when you turned 40, and then 50 was even better.
Well, you had a lot of fun back in the day when we used to go out and actually hit the clubs, and you would have fun introducing me and another friend. We'd go and meet some girls, and you'd be, hey, this is my friend Mac, and my other friend, they're in their 30s, and I'm in my 20s,
Yeah, well, Oh, man. So... Well, this week, Mac and I are going to be discussing some ways to profit as a gold-making middleman. But before we get into that and an explanation of what I'm talking about there, why don't we talk about this week in WoW? How was your week, Mac?
Oh, week's been pretty good. Still fighting with that fishing artifact. The RNG has been beating me up. Normally, I don't have an issue with RNG, but there's about 3 fish left to be able to start the final... quest to get that final, a pearl to start the artifact, the final artifact quest.
Yeah. I've seen some YouTube videos lately where people have actually finished the artifact quest line, and they've been sinking I guess artifact power into it, and they've got some of the new abilities, and they've been making a lot of gold actually with their fishing pole afterwards. So I guess there's some potential there that you have to look forward to.
Oh, sure. And supposedly, again, I haven't done it, but from what I've seen, the rare fish are the ones that power up your artifact. So while doing the fishing, I am getting lots of the rare baits. I am saving those for after I get the artifact up. There's a couple of them that are actually pretty high end. I have sold a couple in the auction house. But the other ones, the ones that are don't sell for a lot, and I seem to get a lot of, those ones I'm just hanging on to for when I get the artifact.
Yeah, and if anybody's holding back on going after that because they're thinking, well, I don't want to put artifact power into that instead of my weapon, that's not really how it works.
You get that through the rare fish.
Right. So as you alluded, it's not the same thing that powers it up, so there's no conflict there or choice to make, when it comes to that. But,
Speaking of artifact weapons, I went through on my druid this week, and I'm leveling. That'll be my next tune to 110, and I've done all 4 of the artifacts for the druid. Having fun leveling up as guardian. I don't plan on tanking in groups, but but it seems I just seem to be survive a little better in bear form than I do in the feral or the resto or the boomkin form.
Oh, sure. That's and it's nice that you have the option to do that. I haven't done more than one artifact quest per character because I really kind of concentrate on one spec per class, but I can't even imagine doing 4 on the druid.
I've done 3 of them on the paladin. I've only done the one. Every other 2, and I've just done 1 artifact on. But the pally and the druid, it seemed like it might be useful to have extra. Oh, I take that back. I did the blood spec for the Frost Knight. I forgot about that. During Death Knight.
Oh, okay, yeah. And for me this week, I'm still kind of continuing the idea of bringing some of my alts up. I'm trying to get a bunch of them to 110. And there's going to be some new gold making opportunities for alts if you have a lot of them up to 110 that are going to be coming up. I can kind of see that on the horizon. So I kind of got my eye on that, and continuing the farms.
And we got some good news last week. The day after we posted the podcast, we found out that 7.1 is going to drop on the 25th. So actually before BlizzCon.
Right.
Now the first raid isn't going to drop for about a week or 2 after that, but it's kind of nice that here in another week, the leveling your alts will be a little bit easier. Getting the whistle quest and everything.
Oh yeah, and the guess that I had made for 7.1, a lot of the reason why that was my guess was based on the new raid. I didn't think the new raid would be until then, and so I was right about the raid, but they're actually going to have the rest of 7.1 come out earlier than that. So that's nice for people that were looking forward to that. There are a few people that are concerned that they're rushing a lot of content at the beginning, and that we might have a year to 14 months no content at the end of the expansion's life. And I think Blizzard learned their lesson on that. I don't expect that to be the case this time, but I know there are a lot of people who are very concerned about it.
Right. No, I can see the concern, but let's wait and see what's going on. They may have more content to bring out, and we'll wait and see.
Right. So also we just had Hollow's End started, and no, I do not have the Headless Horseman mount yet.
I even tried to help you. My luck did not rub off.
Well, right before recording the show, we actually popped on to do today's Headless Horseman and no dice, and I had this bad feeling that you were going to get it to drop again.
Well, I would have been able to give it to you because we were in a group, right?
I don't think so. I don't think it works that way for the loot-filled pumpkin, because you get the loot-filled pumpkin and then you open it up. When you click on it and you open it up, I don't think the things that pop out of that, I don't think it's like killing a boss and looting something off the boss, because I never had the opportunity for that thing.
Well, I didn't remember. I just got it the one time in many years ago.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way as far as I remember. I would be very surprised if it worked that way.
I was there for you, man.
I did want to mention early on before we forget. Mac and I have been tossing around an idea of that on the show occasionally we could do an interview of some of the top gold making players in WoW, some of the content creators, and some that aren't gold makers but are prominent people in World of Warcraft that people would like to hear from. And just the idea of asking them to do an interview with us, and we put it up for you guys. We wanted to find out if that was something that you guys would be interested in. If you think it'd be something that would be nice to hear, and you have some suggestions for who you'd like to hear from, drop us a line and let us know, because it shouldn't just be who we think of.
Right.
I mean, we've got a few on our wish lists, Mac and I, and like for instance, I'd love to interview Old Bess or KZ, and I've also heard many of Roe's interviews that he does on realm maintenance. And I think it'd be a lot of fun to turn the tables on him and maybe interview him on our show.
Oh, sure, sure.
And I know you've got a few that you'd like to interview as well. So,
right.
So definitely give us a yell and let us know what you'd like to hear. So besides watching me fail at the Headless Horseman, anything else entertaining?
That's a yearly event, like my birthday.
Yeah, well, unlike your birthday, you're not going to all of a sudden get young one of these years, but one of these years I am going to get the Headless Horseman. So. there's always that.
Well, we get more birthday tomorrow too. Mrs. Mac's birthday's tomorrow. We're a day apart. Well,
yeah.
A day in a couple years, but.
See, I married a woman whose birthday's earlier in the year than mine. That way, after her birthday, I can say, okay, now that we've got that over with, let's. Actually, in my family, we've got birthday season. My wife in the middle of November, and me and two of my kids in December, and then one at the very beginning of January. So we're just right in a row like that. So.
This just makes it easier for me for birthdays. I don't forget. It's like, it's mine. Hers is tomorrow. Okay.
If you forget your wife's birthday, you are in big trouble.
It's I'll claim Alzheimer's.
Well, and the good news is, it'll be a believable claim.
Yeah.
Hey,
Thanks.
You know what? When you pitch them underhand to me like that right over the plate, I'm going to take a swing. It's just...
Yeah, soft pitch. I understand. All right.
So I guess we'll get into our main topic today if we don't have anything else to cover for this week.
Yes, because I've got a bottle of scotch staring at me.
You do. It's got a birthday bow on it. So what we wanted to talk about this week is something a little different, something I like to call becoming a gold-making middleman. And, I think we've all been there. A great opportunity for gold making hits. You start to really clean up. You're making a ton of gold. And then the method starts to get popular, too popular. So soon everybody's doing it, and the auction house is full of competition, and it becomes almost insurmountable trying to compete.
Then you've got Joe Dollar Store, who decides to come in, or Copper Store, as the case may be, decides to come in and undercut by a tremendous amount.
Yeah, and put 100 of them on the market or something like that. This happened to me in Warlords with Enchants. The undercutting on my realm was insane. So, I was making the enchants, putting them on the auction house, and all of a sudden I started getting all this competition. And so the way I dealt with it was I just started selling the raw mats to my former competitors, and it worked. So I would package it up, what you needed to make the different enchants, and put it up there, and they would buy it, make the enchants. And even when the enchants started dropping in price, the enchants dropped in price before I had to lower my prices on the mats. So I was kind of, behind the curve of right. The prices going down. So I was actually able to do fairly well on that. So that's what I want to kind of talk about today, and we have a couple of examples of that. But basically the idea of this week's podcast is to illustrate how you can make a lot of gold when this happens by finding ways to be the middleman. The first example I'd like to cover are potions of treasure finding. We've talked a lot about the Great Farm and Bastion of Twilight. That first room where you have a potion running, and the farm can get really popular at times, but the dirty little secret is nobody likes to farm and craft the potions. And right. So as a result, you maybe don't see too many for sale in the auction house. Sometimes you don't see any for sale. And sometimes when you see them, they're rather high in price. I typically see them, in the 300 plus realm range on my realm, which is, some good money for what you have to farm to make these if you're making them in bulk.
Right.
So that's the first thing we want to talk about, and we'll talk about that one specifically. First thing, you're going to want an alchemist that's a potion master. I mean, we've talked about this when you're making when you're making living steel and things like that, how you want to have the transmute master. Well, this is a case where you're going to want a potion master so you can get those extra procs. I personally have one potion master and I have one elixir master, and the rest of mine are transmute masters, because that's all you really need. The transmute masters have a daily cooldown and the others do not, so you only need one of each of those. The mats that you need to make the potion are 8 Cinder Bloom, 4 Storm Vine, 6 Heart Blossom, and 4 Whiptail. So let's talk a little bit about where you need to go to get these supplies. The Whiptail, there's a great place in Oldham where you can go along. There's like a little coastline where all the water is there, and you got the little. It's like it looks like Florida. It's like it's like the Florida Keys, right?
Oh, you've even got the alligators.
Exactly.
I always get them right down the middle in the river that goes down the middle on either side.
Yeah. You can actually get a whole lot. You can actually get a whole lot of Whiptail just going up and down there, back and forth. Cinder Bloom, probably the best place for Cinder Bloom is going to be Mount Hygel. There's in Twilight Highlands. There's also there's a couple of places in Twilight Highlands that are actually decent as well. But find yourself a good path for that in Mount Hygel.
If you're out there hitting Firelands or something like that, it just gives you an excuse to go running around there gathering herbs.
Sure. And Stormvine, well, that's going to be underwater time there, Vashir, unfortunately. And the last one, Heart Blossom, Deep Home. That's where you want to be for that. And
while you're doing that, you can try to get the rare mountain there if you want.
That's true. But here's the thing that I would suggest. Rather than saying, okay, I'm going to go get a certain amount from Whiptail here, and then I'm going to go get some Cinder Bloom, and then I'm going to get some Stormvine, go in and just really farm the hell out of one of them and have an amount that you want to get within the day. And then on a separate trip, you go out and you get another one, and then you get another one. And by focusing that way, you can make better use of your time. And then when you've gathered everything that you need, you can sit down and make some potions and hopefully get a lot of procs. The good news about making this, if for some reason you're not able to sell them well on your realm, well, it's not like that you won't be able to use them. It's not like they won't have a great use to make you gold directly in Bastion or Twilight or another Cataclysm zone. So there's definitely potential to make gold one way or another with that.
And I didn't check. I meant to check before we started today. I didn't check what the herbs were going for, but that's another way. It's just if you know somebody out there that's making a lot of potions, just sell the herbs.
Right, and there are Whiptail. In my opinion, Whiptail's real easy. I mean, the path to get Whiptail in Oldham is just so easy and fun little run up and down. Cinder Bloom you can get so many different places. That's not rough. But Stormvine and Heart Blossom, people don't want to farm that.
Right.
And if you have somebody that's wanting to make the potions, or if you're making the potions yourself, I mean, you can sell. If you don't want to make the potions, or let's say that you're an herbalist, but you don't have an alchemist. Now, if you don't have an alchemist, you need to make an alchemist, because I'm sorry, there are too many ways to make gold to have an alchemist. But let's just say, for argument's sake, you don't have it, or you don't want to farm all 4 of these herbs. You don't want to go after the Heart Blossom, or you don't want to have to go after the Stormvine, or what have you. You can pick one of those, or a couple of those, farm the hell out of it, and sell it on the auction house. And it's another thing that you can do. You can do big stacks and everything, or you can do Cinderbloom in stacks of 8, and Stormvine in stacks of 4, Heart Blossom in stacks of 6, and Whiptail in stacks of 4, because that's the amount that's needed for the potion. In case somebody needs to make a potion, they need to make 1 for that particular day that they're going to be farming, and they'll pay a premium a lot of times if they just need 1. So there's an opportunity there, and it's something that I say a lot when you put things for sale in the auction house. Sometimes your stack size is more important than your price. If you have the right number in your stack, people are going to see that and say, hey, you know what, that's convenient. That's exactly what I need. Somebody is selling 12. Well, I don't need 12. I only need 10 of whatever the item is. Well, then they might pay a little bit more and buy yours rather than have extra that they can't use. So, that's certainly a way to go. I know for myself, I'm probably not going to ever do this, what we're talking about here as far as making the potions to sell or selling the herbs. And the reason why is because for me, I much prefer to use them. They have a lot more value to me to actually go into Bastion or Twilight and use them. But if I ever decided I didn't want to do that anymore, I could certainly see myself falling back to that.
Right.
So it just gives you options. It just depends on what the markets are doing. And right now, Ember Soap bags are doing very well. And, True Gold has a good value. That's another thing that you can farm in Bastion or Twilight is the mats to make True Gold.
When I was doing my Ember Silk this week, I ran into a situation. It's like I can farm the mats, make the potion myself, but on my server, there were a couple of them in the auction house for 150 gold. And I can make a lot more gold per hour just buying those and running into Bastion or Twilight than I would make running around trying to farm the stuff up for several hours. So for me, it just made sense to buy it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that happens for a lot of people with a lot of things, not just this.
Right.
There are times where you just need to get in there and you need to farm something, you need to do something, and you don't have what you need. You don't have the potion that you need, or you don't have, or for somebody that's going into a raid, if there's only one person selling the stat food that they need, and the stat food is priced, 50% higher than what they normally pay for it, but it's the only game in town, and they need it now, and they don't have time to mess around, they're going to pay it.
Right.
So, there are things like that to consider. And that also ties into what day of the week you're doing something on, when you're dealing with the auction house. I don't want to get too far afield on this, but it makes a difference if you're on raid. If it's raid day for something, there might be a time crunch situation to where you can actually command more gold for something because somebody doesn't have time to wait around for a better price.
Right. Understandable.
Yeah.
And right now, another thing that when we're talking about playing middleman, Sky Golems, because of the herbalism component with them, the price has gone way up, but also the competition has gone up. Now, it hasn't hit a point where I'm going to stop making them, but if it runs into a place where you can't make them anymore, the components besides the jards, which is soulbound. Everything else in there you can sell in the auction house. I'm selling my extra living steel, which is going for a premium on every server I'm on. Even the ghost iron bars,
right,
which you can. We've talked about the half hill form, but you don't even have to do that. Jade Forest, you can fly around there and collect a lot of ghost iron up in a very short period of time.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, that's something that's actually very profitable right now. Is if you have a miner and you just pop in and make loops around there in Jade Forest, you'll have a stack of ghost iron before you even know it. And the beauty of that is, you make your ghost iron bars and you sell them in stacks of 10 because that's what people need every day to make their jards. And there are people that are getting on the bandwagon on the Sky Golems. They pop in, they say, wow, like one of the realms I'm on, there are 2 Sky Golems for sale right now, and they're both 125K.
Right. Whereas a month and a half ago,
insane.
A month and a half ago they were going for $49K.
Right.
So,
it's insane. I have sold plenty of Sky Golems in the 45 to 46K range and was happy as hell to sell them at that price. Now they're going through the roof, but that isn't going to hold.
Because
right?
there's a lot of people that saw that market and are jumping into it. Especially there's other people that are talking about it on other podcasts and other bloggers that are talking about the Sky Golem.
Right, and it's got kind of a unique aspect to this market. And usually when people jump in on something and they jump in and they say, wow, people are making a lot of gold in this, I'm going to do this too, I'm going to power level a character up through such and such profession so that I can make the thing that I need to make, and then they make it, and you've got almost instant competition. Well, there's a safeguard against that with Sky Golems. You've got that built-in 30-day delay from the day that they decide they want to do it to the day that they become your competition. Right. You've got a full month before that can happen, and that month warning isn't even half over yet. So there are so many Sky Golems being made right now that aren't going to be on the market for another 2 to 3 weeks. There is going to be a huge influx. And you watch and you see if I'm wrong. There are people that made 5, 6, 7 engineers, and they're making those jards every day. And they're making the living steel and all of that. Living steel they can cheat because they can buy it. But they're making that every day, and they're building up to that big payday that they're seeing coming. Now, I recommend, especially if you've already been doing it, like Mac's been doing and like I've been doing, if you've got 7 engineers that have been full on doing this for a while, like I do, then keep making your gold. So, selling those Sky Golems, make the money while the money's there to be made. But understand that in a few weeks, there is going to be a large influx of Sky Golems on the market, and they're all going to hit about the same time. You're going to see a flood come through there. So right now there is an opportunity if you want to farm a bunch of ghost iron ore and turn it into bars and sell bars 10 at a time. If you're like me and you have 7 engineers all making jards every day, that's 70 bars of ghost iron, 140 ore that you have to collect every day to make that, unless you're running the half-hill farm. And as we know, right, people that don't have the half-hill farm, they have to go through and they have to develop that and get their faction up and build up their farm to 16 plots and all of that. It's not an overnight thing either. So a lot of them are going to get the idea that they want to cash in on the Sky Golem. But after a few days of every day going out and farming a bunch of ghost iron, some of them are going to get sick of that, and they're just going to go, oh, who's got ghost iron for sale in the auction house? Oh, look at that. Mac's got a whole bunch of them up there in neat little stacks of 10 for me, So then all of a sudden, there's a nice little profit to be made. And I know that when I first started doing this, ghost iron bars were like 7 gold each. And at the time, I thought, wow, that's a lot.
Now they're
for ghost iron.
20. I've seen them anywhere between 20 and 26 each, somewhere right in there.
That's insane. That's insane. Do you know how long it takes to get a stack of ghost iron to where you could make 100 bars?
No time.
No time at all. I mean, way less than an hour.
Right.
It's fast. Now, something that I would recommend, and I'm kicking myself because I didn't put it in my notes, but there's a set of goggles that you can get that helps you to find extra ghost iron nodes, and it's an engineering thing, but anybody can use it. And I have it on my miner, and I forgot to check what the name of it is, but check into it. There's it basically reveals more nodes, and I think it's something like, I want to say it's like 10 to 15% more nodes or something like that. I might be off on the percentage,
Well, that's huge.
But it makes a big difference. I've done it with and without the goggles, and I've definitely noticed a difference. But yeah, so you've got, that's the ghost iron. Now, you can also convert the ghost iron, transmute it with an alchemist to trillium, and you can get procs on that. And that doesn't have a daily cooldown. So, you can farm and you can basically get everything that you need to make the sky golem just by going out and farming that ghost iron. So it's it's a great option for how you can do it. And then then you can, of course, you turn the you turn the trillium into the into your living steel. Yeah. So.
And there's good money to be made, I would think, for at least a few more months on that. I expect here within the next 2 or 3 weeks the price of the sky golems will start dropping, but the mats will still be. People are going to jump on that boat a little late, and they're going to be trying to buy up the mats.
Well, see, what people are going to do is people are going to put the sky golems up for the high price even after the price has already started to go down, because people end up chasing that price as it's going down.
Right.
And so while they're making it, they haven't put it for sale yet. While they're buying the mats for you, they're buying the mats from you so that they can make it. So they haven't put it up on the auction house yet. They're going to pay the premium price to you for the mats, and you'll sell a lot of mats at a premium price when the price is already dropping on the finished product.
Correct.
But there's no way that they're going to anticipate that in most cases. So there's a real opportunity there, and I just really wanted to point out that you don't always have to be making gold doing the same thing that everybody else in the world is doing. The people that got in there early on the sky golems, and we were already making them, before the expansion came out. Right. But for people that weren't, we weren't making them in the beginning because you could pick herbs with them. It was just people were buying them because it was a mount. It was a cool mount that people wanted. But you've got a lot of people that jumped on the bandwagon and said, "Hey, we need to get these, make them, and sell them," because everybody wanted them to go after Starlight Rose. Right. And so you've got one market that fuels another market that fuels another one, and it trickles down. And sometimes you want to be at that lower level, supplying at the lower level to make the most gold in the end. So it often works out that way. You can do the same thing with True Gold as well. You can farm the mats for True Gold and sell that. I just put a bunch on the auction house today, as a matter of fact. And if you put those on the market, put them in stacks of 12, because that's what's used for the the vial of the sands. So right. That's pretty much that. Was there anything you wanted to add about the? I know. We should mention, obviously. If you don't have a half hill farm, you should definitely, if you want to do this, you should definitely develop that. Right. That'll make it a lot easier on you.
Once it's developed, it's just a few minutes each day on each tune. And with 2 tunes, you can handle 1 engineer with 2 tunes doing the farm every day once it's fully developed. And still have extra to be able to sell in the auction house. Like I said, all my extra living steel goes out there.
Yeah.
To the auction house.
Yeah, and I kind of got the opposite kind of thing going. For me, I'm usually running a little bit short of what I need for, just a tiny bit short of what I need for all my engineers. And so I go out and, every few weeks, all I have to do is go out and farm a little bit of ghost iron. Doesn't take very long, and then that's enough to keep me caught up. But yeah. It's a great way to make gold, and it's often overlooked
market right now. Yeah,
it's very, very often overlooked. But so to wrap up, if we don't have anything more on that, these are just really 2 examples. It's not really meant to be, hey, these are the 2 ways to do this. Take this and apply it to new things that come to the market, and just watch for a market that hits and gets hot and is starts to move towards getting saturated. If you're one of a dozen guys that are all undercutting each other on the auction house, that kind of sucks. It's much better to be that one guy that's supplying those 12 people.
Right.
Much, much better way to go. So just something to keep in mind. We do have one more farm we'd like to talk about that's available for just a short time. It's kind of a bonus farm. It doesn't really tie into the other two that we were talking about, so I wanted to talk about it a little bit, separately. But before we get into that, there's something else we'd like to mention just briefly.
Yeah, this is something we're not going to do on the podcast very often, but this is something that's kind of close to home. We've got a young kid here in Anchorage, or actually lives in Wasilla. His name's Lucas Dinsmore. He's battling with lymphoma. He was 15 months old when he lost his brother to leukemia. And when he was diagnosed with lymphoma, on September of 2009, he went through about 12 weeks of chemo at Seattle Children's Hospital, went into remission. His labs were great for about 7 years, and unfortunately, August of this year, he had a bout of Bell's palsy, and it was re-diagnosed with lymphoma. And he's recently undergone surgery to remove tumors and several inches of his intestines. He just was released from the hospital yesterday to go home for the weekend, and he starts a round of chemo again this next week. The kid's tough. He's got a great heart and is fighting this thing. But his father works with me, and we're in an industry that is tourist driven. And a lot of times in the winter, or every winter, we lose about a third to a half of our workforce due to layoffs. Now, people are aware that this sort of thing was going to happen. We've had people that have taken voluntary layoff. We've had people that have taken vacations so we can keep our manpower numbers where he can stay on. He works in a different department than I am, so I can't do something similar. He's an engineer and conductor. I'm an office worker, so different type of skill set. So nothing I can do to help in that way. So there's some of us that went out and we set up a GoFundMe page for this guy. His dad is going to be laid off here within the next couple of weeks, and he's going to lose his insurance. And then he still needs to go down to Seattle Children's Hospital and receive a bone marrow transplant. So we've set up a GoFundMe page. We'll have the links on both our Facebook page. It's already on our Facebook page. We'll have it also in the notes for the show. But any little bit you can help this guy. I mean, if you're not able to help financially, if you're just able to get the word out that we're trying to help this guy out. His dad's a single parent. I know the challenges of that. I was a single parent for a lot of years with my kids before I met Mrs. Mack. So it's tough enough being a single parent without having these challenges. And then, again, being laid off, having no income. People have donated vacation time while he's working. But once he's laid off, we can't donate any vacation for money for him. So this was another way to be able to help him out in his time of need.
And Mac and I feel strongly enough about this that we didn't. If you notice at the beginning of our show, normally we have a sponsor, and we didn't want to do that today. We don't want to take anything away from that. Anybody who feels like that they want to do something to support the show, don't do that this time. Don't support the show this time. We appreciate it when you guys support the show, but this time somebody needs something a lot more than we do. This is a big need. That's pretty much going to cover it. We're going to have like Max said, we're going to have the link on the website. Take a look at it. If you can do something, great. If you can't, maybe you know somebody that can. Right. So do what you can on that. So the other farm we wanted to talk about during Hollow's End, there's a toy that drops. It's called Coin of Many Faces, and it's a toy that casts an illusion on you and it's tradable. We found out that it actually turns people like Mac into female night elves. So I don't think I think what it does is it peers into your soul, and it sees the real you, and it projects that outwardly, which is pretty magical. I mean, now my character is already a male goblin, so I guess it would turn me into an even better looking male goblin.
We'll see, yeah.
But anyway, I want to give credit where credit is due. This came to my attention actually. There's an awesome YouTuber, a gold making YouTuber who puts out a lot of great content. His name is Student Albatross, and you should definitely check him out. He's got a lot of great guides and everything. Seems to be an awesome person as well. But this coin, this toy that you can get here, it's not going to have a whole lot of value right now. Right now, you might get a couple grand out of it, maybe, right. maybe less.
Right. According to the Undermine Journal, before Hallow's End started, they were going for about $30K or so.
Yeah, this is something that after Hallow's End is over and no one can get it except for purchasing it through the auction house. This is something that's going to skyrocket in price, something that you hold on to for later. Let a couple of months pass by and, farm up a few of these and put them on the market. When I was actually on Skype with Mac, and we were talking about the show tonight, and, I had him go check it out today, and, he's sending me texts as I'm preparing show notes, and
well, I read up on it, and I was seeing the quote unquote 1% drop rate that was supposed to happen with this thing, and I can't be that lucky. I mean, I had five of them drop in 20 minutes.
Right.
I mean,
now, in all fairness, when I came out there after I logged on to check it out, I was there for maybe I don't know. Was I there for 15 minutes? Maybe
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I got two, but there were a lot of people out there farming it. There was a little bit of a crowd gathering, and the YouTuber that I mentioned, he's pretty popular. So I think a fair number of people saw his YouTube video, and others I'm sure knew about it already.
Well, these are the place you find them is in Shadow Moon Valley. It's on the Isle of Shadows, on the southern Shadow Moon Valley. The location that I was at is 3861. If you got a thing like TomTom, there's a static spawn of 3 mobs, and they're about every 4 or 5 seconds they respawn, and I was just slaughtering them over and over again, so I wasn't competing with the big crowd that was out there.
Right, you're killing the skeleton mobs
right.
that are out there. There's a ship out there, and a student was talking about farming on the ship. Well, when we went out there were so many people on the ship that wasn't really viable. Right. But so if you watch his video, keep in mind he tells you about a place to go, and this is why I think people got it from his video like I did, because that's where everybody was going. But they were ignoring the shoreline a bit, and they dropped there too. So
and the spawn rate is quick.
It's very, very quick. Almost, I mean, it's like 3 seconds. It seems like three to 5 seconds, something like that, and they respawn.
Yeah, that location I gave you. There's another 3 mobs that spawn up the beach just a little bit, and if you do it right, you can pull between the 2 camps, pull the one camp back to the other, kill them all right there. And by the time you got them dead, you run back to the other one, and it was just, I mean, it was like feeding a conveyor belt,
Yeah, and so with it being warlords, if you're 110 and you go out there, I mean, it's like butter. I mean, these are like you just one-shot them left and right. So not any kind of a challenge at all to just keep them just completely wiped out. So now I do suggest if you're able to go out later at night, your server time, it's going to be a little bit better. if you have a whole lot of people out there competing, it can be a little bit more challenging. But yeah, definitely farm some of those up. You've only got, while Hollow's End's running to do that. Put them away, and I have an entire guild bank tab that I keep just for my things that I'm saving for a future date, right. Things that I'm not trying to auction off right now, and it's like I call it my wine cellar. It's the wine has just been bottled. I got to wait till it matures. Just don't keep things until they turn to vinegar, I guess.
Right.
It's
but
the thing
yeah,
to remember.
if because it's a once a year thing, 6-8 months down the road, I mean they'll be worth a premium.
I don't even think it'll take that long. I think this is something that even 3 months from now will have some real solid value. And the thing that you don't want to do, though, you don't want to wait, until Hollow's End is right around the corner, because then people start to think, well, I can just wait it out a few more weeks until till it rolls around again. So you hit that sweet spot where it's just past a few months before, and it's way too long to wait for somebody, because we have learned that people are lazy and people are impatient in this game, and the lazy people and the impatient people are the people that make us a lot of gold.
That's right.
So, so you definitely want to keep that in mind, and so that's another way to make yourself some gold. And was there anything else on that you wanted to cover?
Just another reminder. We talked about it last week. November 6th, Dark Moon Fair is coming up again, and 7.1's dropping before then, so that new Stingray mount's going to be available. So this Dark Moon Daggermaw fish, that's going to be a way to make some gold.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Sell the fish, sell them in stacks, and make some stacks of 200 and some stacks of 100, because it takes 500 to make it, and you be surprised how many people want the mount but do not want to fish.
That's right.
All right, well, I think that's about going to wrap up this week's show. Why don't we tell everybody how they can get in contact with us?
Well, you can get a hold of us at MAC, it's M-A-C, at GoblinGoldcast.com, on Facebook, Goblin Goldcast, or at Goblin Goldcast on Twitter.
And don't forget, you can leave us a voicemail on our website, GoblinGoldcast.com, especially if you want to tell us who you'd like to hear us interview. And please subscribe to us on iTunes or Stitcher if you listen to us there.
And we'll see you next week.
Now go make some gold.
I am not getting paid enough for this.